Hi, I'm the Reverend Dr. Death.
And I'm Llareyna.
And this is Death Holler News. Welcome back, everyone, to Death Holler News. I'm your news anchor, the Reverend Dr. Death, and joining me via Spirit Box is my co-anchor, Llareyna. How are you today, Llareyna?
I'm doing wonderful. So good to be here today.
We've got a lot of news to get to, but first up, local news. Morris Cemetery, believed to be one of the oldest in the region, has recently had a string of vandalism. It is being reported that several of the former inhabitants have disappeared without a trace. Open graves bereft of either coffin or corpse dot the cemetery. Theories abound as to the cause, but the more sensational stories involve the restless undead, ghouls, and even necromancy. All this reporter knows for sure is, "It wasn't me, Barbara. Stop calling and blaming me. And stop posting those flyers at the dollar stores. There's like 17 of the damn things, and it takes forever to take them down."
Oh, that Barbara. She just likes to start trouble.
She does. But moving on, speaking of zombies, let's go on to our main news. First, from IGN, WB has released a trailer for its animated version of Night of the Living Dead, aptly named Night of the Animated Undead, or Animated Dead. Set to release September 21st, the film seems to follow the exact plot of the original George Romero classic. Now, did you get a chance to watch this?
I actually did, yes. I'm a little excited for this one. I was upset that the zombie at the very beginning of the trailer had pants on, though. What the hell?
The thing
His clothes stayed on.
That's true. The thing that I'm kind of torn on this one because the animation looks a little stiff. It's kind of got that WB, like some of the animation that WB does for like their DC comic movies.
Yes, exactly.
It's got that going on, but it's a little bit stiff looking in places. But I'm also interested in it because it does look like there's a chance they can kind of mix the zombies up, kind of make them, more gruesome like they were eventually later in the series. So that's kind of an interesting way to go with it. I mean, if anybody doesn't know, the reason that all these companies are able to make all these offshoots of Night of the Living Dead is the fact that Romero, unfortunately, never had the rights to this movie. When he made it, at the end of the film, he forgot to put the copyright symbol next to the name.
Oh, shit.
And it's been in public domain since he made it. I mean, anybody can take Night of the Living Dead and make anything out of it.
That's kind of dirty, actually. I'm not going to lie.
It's pretty shitty. And, of course, he was bitter about that for years because it is his biggest classic,
So he gets nothing from this, is what you're saying.
Right. He got absolutely shit from that movie. It went, and there's been several sequels to it, unofficial. They even went so far as to brand Return of the Living Dead. One of his producers on Night of the Living Dead went on to make Return of the Living Dead and was able to claim that it was a sequel to Night of the Living Dead because there's no copyright. So he was able to do that.
Did you notice in the trailer, physically watching the trailer, what is with the zombie with the fucking bricks?
Is it like, I can't remember, is it bashing in a window or something to that effect?
Okay, and to be fair, you're not sure every time that it is a zombie, but you see a lot of brick smashing. Yes, a zombie using a brick to smash a window. You see a headlight get smashed with the brick, which appears to be zombies because it looked like it was the gas station scene. And I'm like, what the fuck? When did you guys learn how to use bricks? Look, that movie, by far, to me, is one of the scariest. Look, there are other scary zombie films. When they're running and everything, I know that shit's scary, but for some reason, the slow, creepy ones are the ones that get to me. This movie chills me to the fucking core. I hate it. I love it and I hate it.
Well, the funny thing is, in the first film, they did use weapons in rudimentary ways. I mean, they pick up on it again in Dawn of the Dead, But in Night of the Living Dead, the very first zombie that attacks Barbara in that movie, he actually is trying to break the window out with a brick at the beginning of the film,
Okay.
like whenever she gets
Then
in the
I
car.
missed that.
So,
Okay.
but
Fine. I'll accept that.
It's kind of funny though that they kind of take a step. Romero takes a step back and acts like they don't know how to use tools again. And then in Dawn of the Dead, even though they kind of use them in random ways and they make mention of it, but then in the third movie, Day of the Dead, it's like they're relearning how to do things, and there's even a zombie bub that ends up using an actual pistol. So it's it kind of like they lose the ability to use weapons and then they get it back later on. I don't know. It's kind of weird, but.
Zombie season's going to be frustrating, but there's so many of the deads that you're talking Day of the Dead, Dawn of the Dead. The
Land
only one that's relevant to me is
Land of the Dead, Survival
Shaun of the Dead. Dead of the Dead. No, I'm just kidding.
Probably one of those too.
There probably is somewhere. We should Google that. That'd be hilarious. But yeah,
I was just going to say, of course, Shaun of the Dead. You can't forget that one. I mean, if you're going to...
Oh, I already said that. Yep.
Okay. Speaking of all that, Screen Rant has announced that the original Night of the Living Dead movie is also getting a new unofficial sequel on top of this animated version. So far, all that is known about the film is that it will feature the stars of the original Day of the Dead, which is confusing, Laurie Cardell, Jarlath Conroy, and Terry Alexander, and that it will follow a group of survivors that have escaped to an island to avoid the zombie outbreak. So, just to backtrack, this is also another, because of the copyright issue, another unofficial sequel to Night of the Living Dead. It stars the three main characters from Day of the Dead, and it's almost like it. And at the end of that movie, spoiler alert, they escape to an island, and now the three main characters are on the island, and they're having to fight off zombies. So,
oh, shocker!
So, what is it? A sequel to Day? Is it a sequel to Night of the Living Dead? It's kind of like, they're trying to have it both ways.
I mean, honestly, does it make a difference? You can have these Day of the Deads, Dawn of the Deads, all of these of the Deads, and if there's no official copyright, which there is on other films, I get that, but if you can kind of blend or just leave it kind of to wonder if it's related to those or not, they're all zombies. There's zombies everywhere. Who cares if it's the dawn or if it's the day or if it's night?
Well, the funny thing is, and this is to confuse it even more, the rights to Day of the Dead also don't belong to Romero's estate. And the group that owns those is actually making a television series set to debut on October 15th on Sci-Fi Channel. So if the characters in this are the actor, or even though they're the actors from Day of the Dead, they can't officially call this, any kind, or can't call them the same names as Day of the Dead because they don't have the rights.
Okay. What was Romero thinking?
I don't know. It's like his best stuff was like the rights went to other people. I don't think he must have like hated lawyers and wouldn't pay them to like fight for him in court or something. But like, I mean, I just feel bad for his widow. I mean, and like she's basically been shafted. All the stuff that he had that, I mean, the man invented a genre of monster movies. In our lifetime, there was a monster that was invented by, somebody that was just until like a few years back, living. And that's, I mean, and you would think that like, oh my God, like they came up with a new concept. They, would be, amazingly rich. But no, like Romero lost out every single time.
There has to be some things he's got copyrights on some stuff that I'm pretty sure she's doing pretty well.
Well, I mean, there's the new, let's see, I've got it right here beside of me, the new novel that was posthumously released called The Living Dead, where he kind of continues the story. Well, he shows how the zombie apocalypse came into being, and then he also goes and actually shows some of the characters, including the ones from Day of the Dead that I just mentioned, what happened to them after what happened in the movie. So she's got that at least that's coming in. I mean, that is for sure his work of fiction, along with another writer who kind of helped finish it up. But
yeah.
I don't know. It's just weird that all this stuff is coming out for Romero's like continuation of his stuff. I mean, post release. I just hope it's good because honestly, there's been a couple of Day of the Dead sequels that's been unofficially released and they're complete and utter dog shit. So the late Sid Haig was even in one of the Night of the Living Dead unofficial sequels. I think it was Night of the Living Dead 3D, and that looked awful too. Imagine House of a Thousand Corpses mixed with Night of the Living Dead, and you've almost got what the movie was.
Okay, what do we have a rating? Like, is it rated R, rated PG-13? What is the rating of this animated?
The animated movie. Let me see here. I don't know off the top of my head.
Hold on, I'm looking right now. I'm at IMDb. Hopefully they have it easily. September 21st. Yep, this is it. Rated R.
Okay, rated R.
It's rated R. Okay, I mean, I'm still going to let my kids watch. I was just wondering, I mean, there wasn't anything that I wouldn't have let my kids seen in the original film. I was just wondering how good is it going to be, because it looks, when you look at the trailer, it looks, because it has that DC WB kind of vibe to it, it looks like it's made for kids.
Yeah.
But apparently it's only made for my kids and adults.
Well, I think like I said, I think they're holding pretty, I mean, at least according to the trailer, it looks like they're shot for shot, like redoing the movie. And I'm hoping they throw a few more things in there to kind of mix it up, and especially with the fact that, like I said, they can, amp up the zombie, physical appearances, because in the original movie, they basically had white pancake, makeup on and chocolate syrup dripping out of their mouth to make it look like they had just feasted on something, and there really wasn't much else to them. It took like the Night of the Living Dead remake, that was actually done with George Romero's blessing by his, one of his makeup artist, Tom Savini, to actually take that movie and really amp up, the effects of the zombies, especially one that had like autopsy scars and all that. So
yeah, and that one was actually really good. For a remake, because I usually don't like them, and that one was really good.
It's probably one of the better remakes it's been. I mean, there's several horror remakes that are good. You're talking about The Fly and, John Carpenter's The Thing, but I would rank, at a distant third, I would definitely rank Tom Savini's Night of the Living Dead, because even though it's the same story, maybe with giving Barbara a little bit more, something to go on in the story, just the effects and everything else really helped ramp the movie up a little bit.
Absolutely.
So moving on to less complicated stories that don't involve all this copyright information, Rob Zombie, going along with the zombie theme, is currently in production on a new Monsters movie based on the 1960 sitcom. NBC Universal Studios has tapped the director to provide modern audiences a new version of the beloved Transylvanian monsters living in American suburbs. It might seem like a strange choice given Zombie's prior movies and rock star persona, but he is a huge fan of the original property and appears on all fronts to be keeping as close to the original as possible. Now, following along on his social media, he has steadily been releasing images of the production, and from Herman Munster's pajamas to his facial prosthetic design, to even the wig that will adorn the actor playing Grandpa Munster, Zombie seems to be straying very little from the source material. He's even went so far as to build the entirety of Mockingbird Lane, and has just now started construction on the infamous 1313 home that the characters lived in. It hasn't been revealed who will play the famous characters, but it has been confirmed that his wife, Sherry Moon Zombie, will be in the film, and many have speculated.
Whoa!
Yeah, a big shocker. She's in all of them. It's speculated she will be playing Lily Munster. And of note, Cassandra Peterson, who everybody should know as Elvira, has also been cast for the film.
Oh, nice.
I don't know what character she's going to play, but that's going to be interesting. I'd like to see her, really... I want her to be very campy in this. I'm sure it will be if it's based upon the Munsters and how it originally was, but I just want to see her in this movie.
Yeah.
If you want to follow along as the film progresses, you can follow Zombie on either his Twitter account, @RobZombie, or on Instagram, @RobZombieOfficial.
Okay, fine. Duly noted.
He's posting something every day, so, I mean, he's really into this.
I'm literally following right now as we speak.
I mean, with his enthusiasm, I think this might be a good one. A lot of people have gave him shit, and deservedly, over Three from Hell and 31 and some of his most recent clunkers. But I think he loves this property enough that he's going to do it right. And I'm
Okay.
hoping that he kind of strays away from his redneck,
Yeah.
tendencies that he puts in movies or whatever, like the red.
Does that
redneck.
offend you, Reverend?
No, I mean,
Does it get you to the core?
No, because I think where he's from Texas, I kind of feel like he's got. I mean, he's familiar with that sort of thing. That's why he throws it in there. They always say write what you know, but at the same time, it's a little played out, and I don't see that working so well to have like Psycho Billy Cadillac stuff going on inside of like a Monsters film. So I mean, it's just. If he does what he looks like he's doing, and he pretty much tries to just make a modern version of this, we should be good.
Write what you know, but where in Texas do you see the people that he has created? I fail to see.
He was heavily inspired. He was heavily inspired by the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and there are like
Yes,
I'm sure
yeah.
that like East Texas or something like that's probably what he's basing it off of, but.
And can we give the man a break? We are talking a guy who, as far as I know, who knows in his younger years, I haven't read up on his younger, how drugged up he was. I know he is very against that now, particularly. This is a man who was a rock star, okay? He made music. He's a musical genius. And then he decided to do horror films, which I know he's heavily into the horror genre. So are you and I. That doesn't mean we're just going to make all these great movies. There's going to be some fuck-ups here and there. Even the greatest have some of those,
Yeah, I think just people give him crap because it's like I don't know, he skews more in the direction of just like, I mean, the movies tend to be, I don't know, they're like he's got some decent ones for what he does, like obviously House of a Thousand Corpses, Devil's Rejects, and I would even throw in Lords of Salem because I think that's his best movie that he did, but. I mean, when you throw out some of the other ones that he's done, like I said, 31, Three from Hell, the Halloween remakes, there's a lot of people that hated those. I mean, just because they took, Carpenter's beloved character and kind of added that, zombie, like I said, Psycho Billy stuff to it. It's like, he's kind of 50-50 right now. So he's a hard one to peg, as far as being like on the good side that occasionally does bad, but at least he's not M. Night Shyamalan where like maybe one or two movies was decent and like 8 or 9 were just terrible dog shit. So, at least he's not on that side of things.
Can we divert real quick and talk about how gorgeous Sherry Moon Zombie is? She is a blonde bombshell, not overly, like she doesn't look like she's got a bunch of fake, plastic surgery or anything. She's 50 years old and she's bathing in children's blood. I just know it.
She has to be doing something. I mean, if you watch even Lords of Salem, and I mean that was made a few years back now, but I mean she was older then. She still looked great in that movie. So I mean, and a lot of people give her crap because she does get put in the Rob's movies and her acting sometimes doesn't really seem like she's doing a whole lot. But I felt like she did good in that movie, and she was the lead in that. So.
All right. Go Sherry Moon Zombie.
Next up from Deadline, Chaos, The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina will continue, but not as a TV series. Robert Aguirre Sarkasa, or however you say his name, is the showrunner.
I should have opened that one.
Yeah. The showrunner and a writer of the comic book series has said that he has plans to continue Chaos as a comic. He's gone on record to say that he planned for a season 5 of the show to feature the characters from Riverdale actually making an appearance as rival witches and warlocks, and that a war between the two towns would have taken place. He says that the comic series will start from where the TV show ended and follows Zelda and a group of friends as they travel to the underworld to rescue Sabrina. Called The Occult World of Sabrina, this series is set to hit comic book stands October 13th. But of note, he's also announced that the original comic series line, Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, on which the show was based, will also make a return alongside its spin-off sister comic. So not only is he continuing doing the Sabrina the Teenage, or the Chilling Adventures of Sabrina show, TV show as a comic, he's also going back to the original comic and one that he kind of ended abruptly to make the TV show, and he's continuing it along. So there's going to be like 2 parallel timelines, I guess, if you want to look at it that way. And remember, if you followed along with our Chaos coverage, the Chilling Adventures of Sabrina original comic was set in kind of like a pseudo 60s setting, so there's kind of that difference between them too, because it's heavily influenced by Rosemary's Baby and that sort of thing.
Oh my God, I'm getting a little over this Sabrina news. Although I'm not gonna lie, I'm probably going to read this, but like every time they put something out, they're making it, the news articles, they're making it seem like they're going to be filming, like they show clips of the characters and everything, and it's like, stop it. It's not a show. Quit breaking my heart.
Yeah, they always announce it, and then just like I said, the way I brought it in, they always announce it's like, we'll continue, and then they give you a break, and then it's like, as a comic, and then you're like, stop doing this to me. If you're not going to, it's like they get you set up to make you think that the TV show's coming back, and then, of course, it isn't.
I know, I've sent you multiple articles, and it was all the same thing. I'm like, wait a second, it is coming back. I have proof. Just kidding.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, I kept forgetting about it every time we do one of these news segments. I was like, didn't we cover this already? And it's like, no, you just sent it to me already. That's what the problem was.
I'm just fucking with your head is what's happening, because I'm being messed with, so I don't know. If I'm going down the rabbit hole, you're going with me.
Yeah, you're going to gaslight me, but to make up for the fact you're getting gaslighted by the news agencies. On a sad note, we have from Variety, Thea White, who voiced Miriam on Courage the Cowardly Dog, passed away on July 30th at the age of 81. At the time of her death, she was said to be looking forward to the release of Straight Outta Nowhere's Scooby-Doo Meets Courage the Cowardly Dog, which is actually set to release September 14th from WB Home Entertainment.
Oh, shit.
The cartoon, It's a really sad, it's kind of a sad thing for anybody who's followed it. I can't speak for Llareyna, but I was always a fan of the Cartoon Network series show myself.
Oh, I loved it. My kids loved it too.
It was just those ones that had enough horror elements to it, and it was, and it played them straight. Like, it was always like, even though Courage was acting like really goofy in relation to them, it was like, they were legit, like, horrific things going on in the show, and I just always thought it was interesting that, and I knew whoever was making the show obviously had horror sensibilities, because they did such a good job with it.
And that show got real creepy. Like, it may not have gotten super scary, but man, there was some creepy vibes to it.
And even the setting of it, because it was set out in the middle of like Nebraska, Kansas, one of the bread belt states or whatever, and like it was this desolate farm that was out in the middle of nowhere, and it was literally Eustace, Miriam, and Courage, and they were the only characters, and then all these monsters came out of nowhere all the time attacking the house, and Courage was pretty much the only one who ever paid them any attention. So
if Courage can teach us anything, is that when you need help, Google. Courage had the first type of access to Google you could ever want, and was always, okay, what do I do for this? How do, blah, blah, and that fucking machine knew everything.
And usually he was saving Miriam and Eustace, unknowns to them or whatever, like behind the scenes. That was always something that stood out about the show.
Yes. Even though that poor dog was terrified to the core.
Well, but he was doing what a dog does. Looking out for his masters. So there you are. He was a good boy.
Yep.
So I feel like I speak for us and many of the other fans when I say thank you, Thea, and may you rest in peace.
Oh, absolutely.
Moving on, we have some Exorcist overdose. From Deadline. We reported previously that Universal and Blumhouse were collaborating on a sequel to the original Exorcist film, but we have since learned that they have much more planned than that. First up, Ellen Burstyn is reprising her role as Chris McNeil, and will be featured in the upcoming sequel. And apparently the plot follows the struggle of a father, Leslie Odom Jr., who starred in Hamilton. It follows the struggle of him as a father of a possessed child who seeks out McNeil for help. However, the news doesn't end there. It's also been revealed that the upcoming sequel, which will ignore any previous sequels in the series, is also going to be a brand new trilogy. So what are your thoughts on that, Llareyna? How do you feel about this being a whole trilogy of new movies?
I feel like they are beating a dead horse. Honestly, there is way too much going on. I mean, yeah, it's exciting that they're bringing back Ellen. Okay, that's cool, and it's all nostalgic. But how many people do you think? It's yet to see how many people are actually excited about that. As a horror fan, I'm going to tell you, I'm not sold yet. I mean, I'm going to watch it. It's material that I know we're going to go over, but I'm not. It's one of those. Fine, I'll do it, but I'm going to complain the whole time.
that meme from Bob's Burgers is your favorite thing.
All the time.
I'm with you on this one though. Like when I first saw the news they were coming out with a sequel that kind of like, I mean, they're doing the same thing they did with Halloween Kills. I mean, or Halloween, where they basically skipped over Halloween 2 and all the other movies and said, okay, this is a direct sequel to the first Carpenter film. They're doing the same thing with this. And when I heard that it was just a single movie, I was like, that could be interesting, because they kind of got goofy in part 2 and 3, But then they announced they're doing a whole trilogy, and I just rolled my eyes. I'm like, God help us. We don't need all this. We don't need a new trilogy of these movies.
No, and I'm wondering, like, production-wise, budget-wise, what they're thinking that this movie is going to pull in, because numbers are not looking great right now. If you look at some of the big box office films that are out there, a lot of people are getting disappointed compared to what they're putting out and what they were expected to get in return. So, again, they're pulling this dead horse from its grave and trying to beat some more, earnings out of it, and I just don't know how it's going to go. I don't have high expectations. Which might be good, because it could be great.
If the excellent James Gunn Suicide Squad was considered a box office kind of a dud, which it has been, and that kills me, there's no way in hell that this series is going to do as good as they think it is, or at least not past the first film. I mean,
yeah, I'm with you on that. If that first film doesn't have something that's going to drag people like, oh my God, I need to continue in this, trilogy, it's gonna die hard. and maybe with a vengeance. I don't know.
And it won't live free.
No.
But so far, Linda Blair has gone on record to say that she has not been contacted for this film or any of the films in the series. So that's kind of an interesting twist as well.
Yeah. What's the mom gonna do without her daughter?
Well, I mean, there's always a chance that if Ellen Burstyn comes back and they might even play the Messiah, or, well, let's see, not Messiah, the martyr role with her, like where she comes in and she actually gives her life to save somebody else's child or something. She plays, like kind of like the Father Karras did in the original movie. She does something similar. Then that might leave it open for Linda Blair to be brought back in the sequel. But I don't know. I don't even know if I want to see that, to be perfectly honest with you. So
yeah. I'm not optimistic at all. That's a good thing, though, that people are like, well, God, you're already so negative, it hasn't even come out. And I don't choose to be that way. But look, all I'm saying is that I have low expectations. And when you have low expectations, really the only place you can go is up. So
yeah, it's better
I
not
might
to be
pleasantly
super hyped.
surprised.
Yeah. Just a quick interlude, in board game news, Ravensburger has announced a new board game that horror fans should keep a lookout for. It's Horrified American Monsters, the sequel to the much-beloved 2019 family game Horrified. If you didn't know, the original game had you battling the forces of the Universal monsters in a beleaguered European village, battling the likes of Frankenstein, Wolfman, Mummy, Dracula. But this new version is going to be set in a rural American town called Cross Creek, and which has been set upon by the likes of Bigfoot, Mothman, the Jersey Devil, and other fabled American cryptids.
I'll say it. Chupacabra.
It's going to be in there, yes. And the Badlands Banshee that I've never heard of is going to be one of them.
I've never heard of the Ozark Howler.
Yeah, the Ozark Howler. Yeah, that's going to be one of them. That's going to be interesting. But just like its predecessor, well, basically, I'm going to step back. In the original game, what you had to do is each character has like a different ability they can do. Some move more than others. Some have abilities to where they can transport instantly locations where the monsters are at, or instantly the spots where the other characters are at, the other players. But each monster took something different to defeat. Like if you were going after the Invisible Man, you had to hunt clues from the board to prove that he was actually, conducting or, doing his crimes or whatever before the police would actually allow you to move in on him, and then you could defeat him. And like Dracula, you had to destroy so many of his coffins that he had, like his in different parts of the board or whatever, so that he couldn't run to any specific one and recoup or whatever. So once you did that, you could finally defeat him. Well, this new game is going to be the same way. Like they gave for example, when you go to defeat Bigfoot, nobody believes he's real, so you have to find evidence that he's, like photographs, like track marks where his feet are at, that sort of thing, to be able to convince people that he's real in order to get him off the board.
Okay, so it's one of these games where you really have to kind of think.
Yeah, I mean, well, it involves going around and like collecting these different colored tokens or whatever, and then using them to your best advantage. But you've only got so many moves. Now you do get these cards during the game that allow you to that give you like little benefits, like you can keep the monsters from like activating for a night, or you can move your character so many extra spaces that you normally wouldn't have to get away from the monsters. But that's the thing. If you're on the same space as them and they get activated with their cards that they turn over, they will attack you, or even worse, they'll attack one of the villagers or the townsfolk. And if they attack the townsfolk, so many times that happening, and the town just gets overrun with fear, and you lose the game. So you've got to save these townsfolk in addition to trying to defeat the monsters at the same time.
Okay, so I have a question. Are you playing as one of the cryptids, or are you playing as a human trying to save town?
In this new in the old version, you were playing as characters like the mayor, and I'm trying to think of the different roles, like a detective and some other stuff. In this new game, you're playing the typical American roles you'd find in all the 50s and 60s films, like the jock, the town nerd, like different roles like that or whatever, and they each have like their own abilities.
Okay. How complicated would you say this game is?
It's so easy. I mean,
it's easy. Okay, so my kids could play.
Yeah, anybody. I mean, I don't remember what the rating is, but like it's a family game. Like it is set for like just any family to pick up and play.
We need to do this for spooky season.
I highly recommend the first game in the series with the Universal Monsters, and I'm really looking forward to this one. And unlike the Universal Monsters one, which they pretty much had all the Universal Monsters one in the first box, maybe minus like the Phantom of the Opera, this game has a ton of expansion potential, just because I mean there's cryptids in every state, so I mean they could come up with a lot of different expansions of this thing and really build it out.
Oh, absolutely. The original is only $21 on Amazon, 22 roughly.
If you wait, it's it's also a Target game, and if you wait till certain times of the year, Target does like this thing where you can buy like 3 games and get one for free or something like that. So there's definitely deals to be had on it throughout different parts of like if you just wait and see. But this game, like the original, is set to deliver to Target, and it's expected in October.
Well, hot damn.
And finally, our last news segment from the WB, Malignant is set to release September 1st. And there is a trailer for the film that you can view on YouTube from James Wan, the director of Saw, Insidious, and The Conjuring. This film seems to follow the character of Madison, played by Annabelle Wallis, who was also in the Annabelle movies, which is kind of funny. As she gets visions of horrible murders that are seemingly linked to a mysterious figure named Gabriel that was once Madison's imaginary friend. And in one scene in the trailer, she said, when they ask her who Gabriel is, she says he's the devil. So, cue spooky music. What'd you think about this trailer, Llareyna?
Visually, it looks good. Visually, it makes this movie look good. My fear is I'm hoping they didn't take the best parts of the film and throw it into the trailer. I've had that happen before. I'm 50-50 on this. I'm sitting on the fence on this, and I have to watch the movie to know which way I'm going to go. So I have low expectations. Like I said, visually, this movie looks freaking amazing. Didn't seem too scary. It kind of, I can't tell you what it reminds me of. It reminds me of others. I don't know. There's got to be other similar films where there's just this creepy thing chasing people. She's dreaming about it. Almost like Evil a little bit. The show? Yeah. It would almost be like a movie version of Evil.
Well, I'm kind of torn on it myself because, like, I can see the potential. I'm with you that there's extremely interesting visuals in the trailer. I'm really hoping that what they show in the trailer is like not even really how the movie's going to play out. In a sense that what I'm saying is they make the movie seem like it's going to be one of those scare a minute, like we're going to throw something, jump scares at you, and James Wan, like whenever he does like his best scary movies, like Insidious in particular and The Conjuring, he had a lot of stuff that was going on in the background, a lot of like slow burn scares that, in addition to the jump scares, that made the movie better. So I'm hoping that there's some of that in the film. But I did notice something like later on in the trailer when Madison's laying on her side and you see the dark figure that's Gabriel like forming up behind her, it almost plays out like a scene of sleep paralysis because she's laying there, she's wide awake, and but like this, shadow person is like forming beside of her. So there's that kind of interesting concept that may play in the movie. I don't know. But I'll tell you, it gave me vibes of that movie Sinister, which I'm not really a fan of, but that Sinister film that had Ethan Hawke in it. I don't know if you ever saw that, where Bagul is like
I've
this.
seen Sinister.
Yeah, there's like a creature named Bagul that goes around like collecting the souls of children or something, and there's just something about the way they've designed the shadow form of Gabriel that looks like that.
Yeah, and I can tell you. You've heard about my weird dreams that I have. I dream very visually, and at the beginning when it appears that she's dreaming and everything's kind of changing around her, that shit is legit. When you dream like that, it's real. I could make movies. I'm not good enough. Some of my dreams would make really good horror films.
It does have that kind of dream quality too, where it's just like one thing fades in the other. So I mean, I don't know. I'm looking forward to it, but at the same time, I'm being hesitant myself because it could go either way. Because another thing that sets me off that I don't really like in the previews is there's like a scene or two they show of some kind of, I don't know if it's supposed to be Gabriel or something else, that's kind of doing those herky jerky motions, kind of like the girl from The Ring.
Oh,
and
yeah.
That crap doesn't do anything for me.
It's
I feel
old
like
now.
Yeah, it's played out. It's not really. So I'm hoping that's not the bulk of the movie. I'm hoping that there's other scares and that stuff's kind of thrown in there too.
I'm really hoping that that's not all the scares. Again, like I said, sometimes people get a little rambunctious and they just throw everything in the trailer and you're like, oh, this is going to be amazing. And then when you see it on the screen, you're like, I fucking saw that on the trailer. I paid how much to see this when I saw it for free already? I'm going to tell you, I'm going to be honest with you. One thing that really bothers me, I do not like the name of this film. Malignant. It's like, what is it, like a synonym of malevolent? And I know there's other horror movies called Malevolent out there. I believe there's a B film called Malevolent, so they probably couldn't use that. But like, I don't know. When you think malignant, you're thinking of a tumor.
Yeah, well,
that's just
there's some people that's got some theories about that too, because they say that they're wondering if this is like another play on the dark half concept of where. Maybe the malignancy is that she had like a twin that was absorbed in utero, kind of like, Thad Beaumont did in that movie. And like, that's, the evil creatures, like part of her, that's where the malignant, part of it comes in. I don't know. I mean, there was a few commenters on the YouTube post or the trailer that brought up some good points, like the actual font work for the title Malignant almost looks like the blocky Stephen King style that like Stranger Things is used, so that's kind of interesting.
Yeah, and you know what, if that's the case, I'll be a little bit more excited for it. If that's how it turns out to be, I'll be like, okay, it was worth my slight bit of frustration I had about it, because I was thinking about that too. I'm like, okay, what if this thing's attached to her, as a tumor technically is, that would make sense.
And they reveal in that she's an adopted child, and that something happened to her before she was adopted that brought Gabriel with her. So maybe the malignant thing just plays, talking about what you said, attached. Maybe it's like some kind of evil creature that's like that's just decided to follow her around. You hear about that stuff all the time. Going back to like The Exorcist and some of those movies. Like a demon attaching itself to somebody. Maybe that's what's happened to her. She's had this evil entity to just, and that's it's kind of like a tumor. It's attached to her, and it's like growing in power now for whatever reason.
I don't know. Now I'm getting a little more excited. A little bit more optimistic now. My outlook has changed.
Some people have also compared the trailer a little bit to Lights Out, and I can kind of see that. I mean, that film was okay. It was better than I expected it to be, but at the same time, it was one of those ones, getting back to what you said, where most of the scares were telegraphed in the trailer. Whenever you watch it, you're like, okay,
And let's be honest with ourselves. Nothing is ever going to compare to the short film of Lights Out.
Oh, that thing's amazing. Yeah,
That is the scariest, 5 minutes of your life?
yeah, it's really good, and I know why they made a full-length movie out of it. I mean, it's a good concept.
And that was okay. So that was, if I recall correctly, we're gonna talk about Lights Out real quick. The short film, that was just somebody submitting something to kind of get their content out there.
Do
you recall?
I remember, I think we talked about, or I don't know, maybe we didn't talk about this. There was some company that did this shady thing where they were offering, if you allowed them to use your short films to make a movie, they would give you some kind of credit. They didn't say they were going to, and it might have been WB, I don't remember, but they weren't going to give you necessarily the rights to make a profit off of it. They were just going to give you basically screenwriting, I don't know, credentials or something. That way, it gave you a leg up in the industry. And I'm pretty sure that the Lights Out movie is the one that they did that with.
Yes. But I wonder if that person, did they get any kind of notoriety? Did they get anything from it?
I honestly don't know. I think they got shafted, to be honest with you. I think WB.
Oh, that's fucking dirty. Okay, but seriously, even if, they entered some kind of contest or whatever, and okay, what happened, somebody has to look at that and be like, that person is a fucking genius. Get that person. Give this person a job.
I do think it got their name out there. So, I mean, it did help. I mean, it wasn't because some, you can sit there and just languish in obscurity for years on YouTube and some of these other things. And that did give them a lot of notoriety. I mean, if nothing else, people went back and it's we want to see what this is based off of. And if you go back and watch that original, short film, I mean, it's no contest. It'd be yes, hire this person on the spot.
Okay, here it is. David F. Sandberg. Okay, that's the person who created it. So obviously known for Lights Out, also Annabelle Creation, and Shazam.
Okay, there you go. They did allow him to go on and do Annabelle Creation. So they did give him.
My cold, black, dark heart is happy.
Do you have any news to add to all this, or I mean, that's what I had for this episode.
No, I let you pick all the news, and I actually did some homework this time and read the news so that I wouldn't be so surprised. But I don't like that. I like when I don't research the news and you kind of bring it on me because I don't know. It's what? But now it's yeah, that's fucking stupid. I hate that.
Well, next time I'll. Or do you want me to share the news with you next time?
No, share it, because I kind of just read the synopsis, so I have an idea what we're talking about,
okay.
But I'm not going to read them next time. I want to be fully surprised, and that way my reactions, they feel more genuine, and I have to kind of react on whim, versus now I've had time to think about it and soak in it, and I'm like, ugh. Because I always read, when you post stuff, when you tell me the news that we're going to discuss, I always kind of look at it and glimpse at it and say, oh, hey, that's cool. No matter how awesome, unless it's a trailer, no matter how awesome the news article looks, I usually don't click it and I wait until we talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, there's pros and cons both, but yeah, I can see that, just being surprised by it. So that's fine.
Yep.
That's what
it works for me.
Well, everyone, that's it for the news. Please stay tuned for the weather. By this anchor's understanding, you should not go around tonight. It's bound to take your life. Ladies and gentlemen, there's a bad moon on the rise. Good night.
I'm going to slap you. If you enjoyed this episode of Death Holler News, please look out for our next episode where we review Needful Things. Death Holler is brought to you by Los Diablos Blancos Network with your hosts, the Reverend Dr. Death and Llareyna. Please like, subscribe, follow, and share. We'll catch you next time. And don't forget to bring your death certificate.